It is Tuesday, November 28th, 2023, and I'd like to call this special meeting to order. If everyone could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before public comment, for the board and public's edification, there is one correction on the agenda tonight. For the resignation, the board will be considering in item 4A, the effective date should be today's date, November 28th, not November 16th, because that is when the board will be voting on it. And then after after the agenda tonight, under board discussion, we can discuss the process if the motion is approved for a replacement board member. So it should say the motion will be read effective November 28th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on the items on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none. Superintendent's report.
It's one item on the personnel report, item 3A, motion to approve the report as presented. In item 3A, we have a resignation of a professional staff member. We wish Amanda Edwards best of luck in her new professional pursuits.
May I have a second? Sue, any questions or comments? All in favor? All right, thank you. This is a motion to accept the resignation of Dr. Jamina Clay, effective November 28th, 2023. May I have a second? Chris, any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Now, are there any public comments on this evening? Just please state your name and place of residence. Thank you.
Sonia Pinkney, Plymouth Meeting. I want to speak about the resignation of Dr. Jamina Clay and about the events that transpired at the last board meeting. CSD has made tremendous strides in developing equitable and inclusive programs and practices and creating an environment of belonging for all students. The yearly calendar is evident of that, with multiple holidays that are now included on there, recognizing holidays celebrated by other cultures. Over the past 3 years, the district this board approved the hiring of a diversity and equity officer, and that position continues to remain in place. Both officers, the previous one, the current one, have taken the time to meet directly with students and conduct roundtables to hear about their experiences and identify opportunities for improvement. There's been extensive training developed, continuing to be developed, and delivered to teachers so they are equipped to care for and educate students with consideration to their religious and cultural backgrounds. Rather than punitive, and this is my last example of the multiple things the board has done, but just to highlight a few, rather than punitive, stigmatizing, and shaming practices, student behaviors are being addressed and corrected in a restorative way. They're being taught to understand the source of their behavior, take responsibility for their choices, learn and grow from the experience. Dr. Jamina Clay has been a key part of this work in her role as a parent and as a highly trained and experienced educator. She is committed to our students and always willing to support parents. This was her behavior even before she was duly elected by the community to sit on the board. Her dedication, positive impact, and accessibility has not changed since she's been on this board. As an African-American parent, I still clearly remember how I felt after the televised killing of George Floyd here in the United States. I remember how angry I was at those who did not see the larger issues at hand. But we teach children not to be blindsided and blinded by emotion, to seek first to understand and then to educate, and even to forgive. That clearly did not occur in this case. Dr. Clay, a mother and educator who has dedicated her life to children, criticized an army for killing children. She was vilified and unfairly labeled anti-Semitic. The board accepting her resignation is a huge loss for our children, particularly for minority children. As we move forward, I pray this board is not scared silent, worried that your statements in support of children will be recorded or screenshot and broadcast nationally without the decency of one-on-one communication. This board must continue to be the model of diversity and of courageous conversations, creating extraordinarily positive results for all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Are there any other comments this evening? All right, board comment and discussion. I believe, Mike, could you explain the process moving forward?
So the board has, and Michelle Mintz from our Cox Rothschild, our solicitors here, the board has 30 days from today to appoint a replacement board member. So in the past, the board has conducted interviews. In fact, that's how Mrs. Marino was appointed to the board, and then held a special meeting. I think we need to recognize that the meeting, even though you have 30 days, the reality is with the winter break coming up, you really only have about 20 to 22 days. And so I would ask the board this evening and tomorrow morning to look at your calendars, because we'll post the opportunity for individuals to send their resumes and letters of interest in, along with references. And then I would suggest the dates I'm looking at right now, when I look at the concert series that we have, parent-teacher conferences, all the events that take place every December. There are a multitude, athletic contests, all those things. I believe December 14th would be the ideal date. There are no concerts that evening. That's a Thursday, I believe. And then as backup dates, we could look at December 18th and 19th, but I really don't think you want to get any closer to winter break due to potential family commitments, those types of things. I'd like to have it posted through December 11th. That gives individuals ample time to consider applying to be on the board. And then if the board does not act, then someone would be appointed by the Court of Common Pleas in the county, which, I'm assuming this board will act and appoint someone.
I had a question.
Sure.
What happens if we get beyond 30 days?
Then the Court of Common Pleas will appoint an individual.
And who sits on the Court of Common Pleas? Who is it? Just any judge, or I don't understand how that process works.
Sure. Yeah. There we go. A petition would have to be filed by 10 or more resident taxpayers in the Court of Common Pleas of Montgomery County, and however the Court of Common Pleas of Montgomery County selects judges for cases is how that judge would be assigned. And unless that particular judge had a conflict, that judge would hear the petition.
So if there were multiple petitions, then that judge would have to hear all the petitions and then weigh that out?
Correct, and I would expect if there were multiple petitions that they would probably be consolidated and heard by one judge.
But that one judge would then make the decision. Okay.
Correct.
Questions on the timeline?
And how we're just going to communicate the application to apply and the ways, just regular social media channels, emails, the ways we did last time?
I'll go back to what we did before, but I'm pretty sure it was email blast as well as posted on our website with a deadline. And then, was there anything else, Jess, that we did?
I don't think so. I think it was all the common ways we usually do. I'm pretty sure we did do an email blast, website, social media, all those different things to make sure it got to as many people as possible.
So there's no requirement that it be advertised like we advertise a meeting?
I don't believe so. Is
Sorry.
it?
Yeah.
Other questions? I'll have Linda send out a quick survey tomorrow morning for the dates, and so we can get one selected. I think the last time we did this, we started at 6 o'clock, conducted interviews, and then the board has a discussion, a public discussion, and then goes right into a special meeting to appoint.
And the interviews are open to the public, but not broadcast, correct?
Correct. We felt it wasn't fair to put the interviewees on broadcast until they get onto the other side of it, until someone's appointed and you get to the other side of the table. But they are open to the public. I prefer to have them in here. I know we tried to have them when we had 15 applicants or whatever it was, Sharon, when you were appointed, and we just couldn't get great audio, even though we had a larger crowd and could accommodate it. We'll try to do it in here, or we'll go over to the new middle school.
Yeah, the sound was pretty dreadful. We had a hard time hearing some of the applicants.
Other questions?
I don't have a question.
Oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Is it about the timeline?
Not about the timeline. I just wanted to make a comment. If we're there.
I had a comment as well that I wanted to make, not about the timeline. And I actually wrote something, and actually Ms. Pinkney actually said a lot of what I was going to say, so I'm not going to reiterate. But I would like to thank Dr. Clay for her service to the board and for these past 2 years. And if she's watching, just thank her for her contributions, the value that she had as a part of the team of 10, and for her support to the staff and students. I personally thank her for allowing me to glean from her years of expertise as a dedicated educator for many years. I hope that moving forward, and I know we don't have as many people here today as we had last week, and I hope that moving forward that we can all agree that everyone's voice is valuable, that everyone deserves to be heard, and that all issues deserve the same amount of attention. So when a mother stands at this podium and talks about her daughter being called the N-word 40 times by the same student, or the student leader of our Gay Straight Alliance Club stands at the podium and talks about how the LGBTQ plus community doesn't feel included, or we see and hear that parents are belittling our administration on social media with negative name calling, or when a Muslim American woman stands at the podium and states that her children and other Muslim children are being mistreated daily, and the list goes on. And yes, all of these things have occurred. I would hope that we all rally around these things with the same level of energy and vigor that brought us here today. Let's show up daily for our students, administration, staff, and community. Let's show our students what it's like to live in a community where people don't always agree, but can agree that there's a space for everyone here. Embracing one another from where we are, because none of us are perfect. There will be moments like this one where we have an opportunity to embrace dialogue, to be part of the solutioning process. As we all coexist in this community physically, the same needs to be the case emotionally, mentally, and socially, because our overall wellness is what makes up our whole being. So when someone says that we can only pay attention to the people who may be feeling the hurt most at a given point in time, I implore you to think differently. There is space for everyone to have their emotions and for their concerns to be heard. Collectively, we all have to be willing to listen attentively first, then provide constructive feedback. When this happens, we can be a community that is truly a village and what others will admire and mimic. Dr. Clay has made a public statement on social media resulting from the initial post. That statement has started the journey of healing. My desire and challenge is that we all follow her lead and join the conversation. Accept her invitation to have dialogue so that as a community, we can move forward towards progress over perfection. And I also just wanted to say thank you to our administration as well, to Dr. Christian, and to those, there's a lot. We have a superintendent who goes far above and beyond. And I know that he gets criticized because people don't know that. But you won't find a superintendent like Dr. Christian. So wanted to just personally thank him for that. And I didn't know that coming on to the board, but now I do know as I see other board meetings, I see what happens in other districts. And I just wanted to personally say I appreciate what you do behind the scenes.
I just wanted to also just make a quick comment that our last meeting certainly created a lot of awareness of the need for all of us to come together in community, not just for our students, our staff, our community, to listen, to learn, and to heal. I want to agree with the speaker that it is a loss to our community to not have Dr. Clay's voice here in support of students. I think that it was a mistake. I think the intent over impact certainly played into this for sure. I know I've enjoyed having conversations and listening and learning to those in the Jewish community, those in the Muslim community since this has occurred. And it has been very eye-opening and a learning experience for all of us. I have had the privilege of serving as a principal with Dr. Clay in Philadelphia, and I can speak to my experience with Dr. Clay that she always puts children first. And that is really at the heart of what she was doing, I think. And I think that it was unfortunate the way where she was trying to, I think, bring awareness to something was, again, certainly not impacted the way that it was meant to. And so, again, I just want to invite the board, administrators, and everyone to come back together to what we talked about at the end of our last board meeting is where are we creating the space? Where are we creating the space for our community to come together, for students to come together and to have dialogue and conversation around this? I've heard from Philadelphia colleagues. I've heard from, obviously, members of our community. And there are various opinions around all of this. And I think what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening with Israel is horrific. It's awful. I don't think anyone is denying that. And of course, this could have been handled better in many ways. So I just, again, want to thank Jamina for her service to the board, to our community. And as someone who has served with you in education, again, if you're listening, it has been a privilege to serve with you, and thank you for your service.
Any other comments? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.